mathematics, when transformations occur, we call the transformed shape the image, and the original shape is called the object. A transformation which maps each point on the original object in the same direction with the same distance is called translation. Hello everyone, this is our junior certificate mathematics lesson. I am Raiwan Gari. With me is Elena Tuto, who is going to help me in today's discussion. But before we can go further with today's discussion, let us have a look at the objectives of this lesson. The lesson objective said translating plane figures on a coordinate grid using different translation vectors. That is, we are going to have what we call the translation vectors, and then we are going to use these translation vectors to translate figures on a coordinate grid. We go on and say there are 4 transformations that you are expected to know, being reflection, translation, rotation, and enlargement. But as for today, we are dealing with translation. This is what we are dealing with. We are simply discussing translation. And we should note that translation is all about movement. It only involves moving a point in the same direction. Translation moves a point vertically or horizontally, or in both directions. That is, when you translate, a point can move down, or we can have a situation where both vertical and horizontal are combined. That's what translation is all about. And then we describe translation fully by writing down what we call the vector of translation. This is what describes translation. For you to say you have described translation, you need to state the vector of translation. Hello Tuto, are you still there? Let me give you a chance to ask a question with regard to today's topic so that we can develop further.
Good day everyone. I'm still in touch with our discussions. I will, however, request that you elaborate more on translation. How do I identify or describe translation?
Thank you. To answer your question, let us have a look at the examples I have with me on the board. I have 2 triangles here, and then we need to study them carefully, then make a conclusion out of what we see. We've got the blue triangle and then the brown triangle over here. When we look into these 2 triangles are identical. They are the same. Now, how do we describe the movement which has occurred over here? For the sake of simple explanation, let me call this vertex here to be A, this one to be B, and then let us have C here. Then we will have, say, the image of A here, which I call A prime to indicate that it is the image of A. We call it A prime. And then this one will be B prime. This is C prime. This is simply saying A has been mapped onto A prime. That is the image of A, it's A prime. And then the image of B, it's B prime. The image of C giving us C prime. We now need to come out with what we call the translation vector. We need to know how point A has been moved to point A prime. And we are going to check that. When checking the movement of A to from A to A, you can see that what happened is you moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rather 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 steps. So here it means you moved 4 along the x-axis. And then after moving 4 steps along the x-axis, how many steps did you move down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5. Instead of writing this as 5, because you are now moving down, it means it's a negative movement. Therefore, this will be negative 5. So what we are simply saying is to move from point A to A prime, you have moved 4 steps towards the right hand side and then 1 step down. So the vector here is 4, negative 5. Let us check if you're told this is what we are still going to get when moving from point B to the image of B. Point B is here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 steps then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. But because you are moving down, it's negative. So this is what we get. What is simply saying here is every point on this object is going to move 4 steps on the positive right hand side and then 5 steps down. Then you can see that from A to A prime is 4, negative 5. B to B prime is 4, negative 5. Even from C to C prime, it will be 4, negative 5. Meaning the translation vector here, this should be negative 5. Should be 4, negative 5. So from C to C prime will also be 4, negative 5. This is simply saying the translation vector which maps triangle ABC onto A prime, B prime, C prime. The translation vector, which I want to note by TV over here, translation vector is 4, negative 5. This is the translation vector which mapped the triangle ABC onto A prime, B prime, C prime. We can see that all the points, every point on this object have moved 4 steps on the positive side and then 1 step down. That's why we've got the negative 5 over there. That's the translation vector. Let us have a look at another example. We have this. We've got the object A, B, C, D. And then it says this object has been mapped onto E, F, G, H. This is our E, F, G, H. So this object is being mapped onto this. So it says we are to describe the translation. How do we describe the translation? We describe translation by the translation vector. So this is simply saying we need to write down the translation vector here. So the translation vector will be equals to, we can check A, the image of A is E, so we can check with point A over here. A has moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh. Let me check with point D so that I don't interfere with the drawing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3. So the translation vector is negative 13, 3. It's negative 13 because you are moving towards the left hand side. And when you move towards the left hand side, the value there becomes negative. And then when you move up, it's positive. So the translation vector is negative 13, 3. There are many examples of translations. The other example I've got it here on the board. Go and try this home. Find out what translation vector is that will map L onto M. Let us go for a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with the lesson. Welcome back from the short break. Remember, today we are still discussing transformations, and we are discussing translation in particular. I'm still with the learner here, Tuto. Can you ask another question so that we can discuss it and probably help other students back home understand this topic further?
I have understood, but I'm imagining situations where I'm expected to produce an image when given the object and the translation vector. How do I handle that one?
Thank you. Let us have a look at the example that I have with me on the board to elaborate more on this. It will help you understand. It will even help other students back home to understand this topic further. The example says, draw triangle with vertices negative 5, 5, negative 2, 5, and negative 2, negative 2. So these are the vertices of the triangle that we are going to draw. Now we are going to plot them. After plotting them, we will now join these using a ruler to produce a triangle. Then after that, we will translate this triangle using the translation vector 7, negative 8. Let us draw the triangle that we expected to draw. The first point is negative 5, 5. So it should be here, negative 5, 5. And then the second point is negative 2, 5. It's here. And then the last one is negative 2, 2. It's here. So we have managed to plot the points. We now draw the triangle produced by these 3 points. Right, you now draw a line along this ruler. We have managed to draw the triangle that we wanted to produce. This is the triangle we wanted to produce. The question now says you are to translate this using vector 7, negative 8. So this is our triangle. Remember, when you translate, every point along this triangle is going to move 7 steps towards the right hand side and then 8 steps down because the 8 is negative. Let us translate the triangle we have here. I'll start with the point over here. The point has to move 7 points on the positive direction. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here, and then 8 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It will be here. The point will be here. And then what about the point here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's here. And then it has to move 8 steps down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It will be here. And then what about the last point? This point also has to move 7 points positive direction and then 8 steps down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It will be here. And then we can also join these points using a ruler. So this is the triangle that we wanted to produce. This triangle is an image of the triangle that we started with after translating using vector 7, negative 8. So all the points from the original shape has been moved 7 points positively and then negative 8. That means 8 steps down. And this is our object. Then this becomes the image. That's how you translate when given a translation vector and then expected to produce the image. Let us have a look at another example. Another example is this. It says translate the triangle using vector negative 6, negative 7. Translate the triangle using vector negative 6, negative 7. So the triangle is here. And then we are expected to translate it using vector negative 6, negative 7. So this simply means you are going to move, for every point, you are going to move 6 steps towards the left hand side and then 7 steps down. So let us start with this point over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The point will be here, not here. And then this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then we don't need the coordinate points over here. Then what about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then it has to move 7 steps down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It will be here. Then this point of ours is supposed to be here. And then you can now take ruler and then join this point. This is how we translate the given figure using the translation vector -6, -7. We have managed to produce our image. This is how you are always expected to translate using a given translation vector. Let us go for a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with this lesson. Welcome back from the short break. Remember, we are discussing translation. And the learner here, Tuto, has got a question. I can see he still wants to ask a question before we end today's lesson.
I have grasped a lot now, but before I let you go, what about if the object translated is to move horizontally or vertically only? How do you do it?
Thank you, Tuto. You are saying what about the horizontal or vertical movements? Let me give an example involving the horizontal or vertical movements. The example on the board will help us elaborate more on the vertical and the horizontal movements. The example says translate a triangle using vector. This is the vector of translation in this case. It's -5, 0. So what we can see here is along the y-axis, the movement is 0, meaning you are no longer moving along the y-axis. You are only going to move along the x-axis. And the vector is -5, 0. The 5 there is negative. It's -5, meaning you are to move 5 steps towards the left-hand side from the object. So let us translate using this vector. We are to translate the figure here using the vector -5, 0. So every point is going to move 5 steps towards the left-hand side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's here. Thus, this point will be here. And then what about this one? It will be here. Then this one, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's here. So that's how we translate our points. We can now take a ruler, join these points. Right. This is how we translate the figure here using the translation vector -5, 0. What we can see here is this shape did not move up. It only moved along the horizontal axis. It has moved 5 steps on the left-hand side horizontally. That's why we are saying the movement here is horizontally. It doesn't move up, it doesn't move down. It only moves horizontally. In this case, it moved toward the left-hand side of the object because the translation vector was -5, 0. That's what the horizontal movement implies. Let us have a look at the vertical movement. We are to translate this shape using vector 8, 0. When you look into this, because this is also moving along the x-axis, so this also will give us the horizontal movement. But I want one which will give us the vertical movement. So let us deal with one which will give us the vertical movement. This one, you can just work it out at your own time. So let us have a look at the one which will give us an example where we are moving vertically. Let us have a look at this one. It says we are to translate using vector 0, 6. So the vector of translation is 0, 6, meaning you are to move along the vertical direction only, because along the horizontal axis is 0. We only have a dimension along the vertical axis. So the point is here, 0, 6. It means along the x-axis you move 0. Now what about the y-axis? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this point will be here. And then what about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will be here. And then the last one, this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will be here. After plotting these points now, you take a ruler and then join them to produce an image of this triangle. So let us take the ruler, draw those lines so that we produce the triangle that you are looking for. We have now managed to draw the image of the triangle that we started with using vector 0, 6. And we can see that what happened is all the points on this object moved 6 steps up. That is the vertical movement when translating. Before we stop, we end our lesson, there are some few things that I need you to understand. When you deal with translation, you must be in position to state the vector of translation. That is the most important thing. You must know the vector of translation. In addition to this, there are some few concepts that you need to know. There are situations where you are going to be given the object and its image, then expected to find the vector of translation. You must be in position to find the vector of translation. Or you can be given an object and then the translation vector, and then expected to produce the image from the two given. And you must also be in position to do the correct thing. That's all I had for you today, and I want to believe you have learned a lot. And please keep revising translations. From me, enjoy and goodbye.